The year is 2016. I just want to make a quick note saying that the year that this era happened is kind of debatable. Most people say 2014. I usually say 2016. When I think 2016, I think of the rich LA YouTuber King Kylie vibe, which kind of bleeds into the 2019 California aesthetic, which arguably kind of connects with VSCO girls in a weird way. 2014 is more like messier grunge, if that makes any sense. Everybody is shipping Dan and Phil, drawing cat whiskers on their face. Everyone has colored hair, usually lilac or pink. Dat Boy was the hottest meme any of us have ever seen. Everyone was a fan of the emo quartet and Crank That Frank. See, this is what people don't acknowledge. When people talk about Tumblr grunge, they don't talk about the emo of it all. I was a 2016 grunge girl. I was there in the midst of the emo quartet. 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance. If you were a Tumblr grunge girly, your bedroom would probably look like what mine currently looks like. Plants everywhere, grid bed sheets, random alien memorabilia. Every time I reorganize my room, I know that at some point I'm gonna revert back to the Tumblr grunge. It's minimalistic. It was clean girl before clean girl was a thing. So what did fashion look like during Tumblr grunge? A lot of flannels, a lot of denim jackets, a lot of neutral colors, yin yang, infinity, choker necklaces. Hair was usually in space buns. I actually did have space buns earlier today, but I took them out. The dark floral patterns were a thing. That iconic moon shirt, oh my gosh. Makeup was not like it is today. Makeup was dark. If your face wasn't caked, you were doing something wrong. Skater skirts, fishnets, tights, knee-high socks. Basically, anything from American Apparel. I also love the patterns that were trending during this time. We had the marble pattern. We had the holographic pattern, which Tumblr grunge and Tumblr soft pastel kind of overlaps here and there. They're different, but they're one and the same as well. I just consider it Tumblr grunge. Also, just because I'm saying Tumblr grunge doesn't mean it's necessarily grunge. I know 90s grunge is totally different. I'm not trying to be blasphemous to Kurt Cobain right now. Everyone was obsessed with decorating their wall with Polaroids and drawing and listening to music. We have artists like Arctic Monkeys, the 1975, the Chainsmokers, Halsey, 21 Pilots, Lorde, the XX, 5 Seconds of Summer, Lana Del Rey, and it goes on and on and on. Basically any type of alternative pop, kind of rock, any song that makes you depressed when you're listening to it. That's, yeah. I just went to the library and I was like, what book fits 2016 Tumblr that I have not read yet? And I picked We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I've heard of this book forever, but I've never read it, and it's so short, so I knew I had to read it for this prompt. This is so Tumblr. This cover, girl. You got the blue, the pink, the line art. I think it's a depressing book, which fits. This book just totally encapsulates 2016 Tumblr to me. Like this. Totally fits. Anyway, so this is the book I'm gonna be reading for 2016 Tumblr. I just got dressed and showered for the day, and we're gonna do some 2016 Tumblr grunge makeup. Ready for my face to be caked. When I think of iconic makeup eras, I think of 2016 and 2019. 2016 was kind of what I'm gonna recreate. It was the heavy, cakey, matte lipstick, big eyelashes era. And then 2019, that was like the Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Dramageddon era, which we'll get to that later in the video. For this look, we are pulling out an ancient relic, okay? We're pulling out Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette. Is this completely expired and will probably give me an eye infection? Yeah, but it's the only one I haven't had the heart to throw away yet. I used to have Sweet Peach palette, the Chocolate Bonbon palette, I had that Tart Pineapple palette, Jaclyn Hill, Jeffree Star. I had the mini Shane Dawson Conspiracy palette, which heinous color choices, by the way. We thought he ate with that. He did not. The only ones I kept are James Charles and Chocolate Bar. I feel like the way I normally do my brows is too subtle, so we're gonna pull out the black eyeshadow. Back when I used to do this, I would use eyeliner, potted eyeliner, for my eyebrows. You know it's getting serious when I bust out the eyelash holder. Makeup is completed. I actually really like this look. I'm gonna start reading We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I should hopefully be able to finish this today because it's so short. I'm not sure though because my little brother wants me to play Fortnite with him tonight, and my best friend just texted me asking what I'm doing, so she might want to go do something. So I don't know when I'll have time to read, but I might be able to read this all today. Here's the outfit of the day. We have ripped light wash jeans. We have a flannel tied around the waist because of course we do. And then we have this shirt with aliens on it because that is iconic. I don't think I would say this could be my everyday normal style. However, well, anymore. It used to be. But I'll wear it today. I have to leave the house today, so I'm gonna wear this. I don't care. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to read right now because my friend is coming to pick me up. She's like, hey, I'm in town. Do you wanna hang out? And I'm like, sure. Hi, it's the next day. I did not get dressed up and ready for today. It was just one of those days. I did schoolwork all day today. But I'm upstairs now and I'm gonna try to finish this book. I read like 70 pages yesterday, but I can finish this tonight. I have Chipotle chips and corn salsa, my book, my vibey lights, ready. I didn't end up dressing Tumblr Grunge for this portion of the video because I had other stuff to do today. I had to dress practically today, so I have overalls on. Anyway, I finished reading We Are Okay last night. At first I wasn't loving it, but once I got into it, I loved it so much. It doesn't have that much plot. It's very character focused, which I love. Recently, I've kind of been contemplating wanting to write my own book. Not like anything serious, but just trying it out. If I were to write a book, I think it would be this, like a literary fiction, very character-based book. I 100% plan on and want to get my own copy of this book so I can annotate it because the writing style was beautiful. It's just about a girl named Marin and this other girl named Mabel, and it's about their story together, and it's about Marin's past. I just really recommend it if you like boring books. It does have a trigger warning, some trigger warnings, so look up the list before you read it. There was one specific part that really made me depressed and sad. So, which I like that because I like sad books, but be warned if you're gonna read it, it might make you sad. I thought it was a really wonderful book and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and I would definitely recommend it. I really wanted to film like this for this portion of the video because the Christmas lights in the background totally fit this aesthetic. However, this is not a good angle, nor is it good lighting, so just know the thought was there. Oh crap, I want to change my glasses. I don't have nerd glasses yet, so this will have to do. You guys are really going to have to hear me out for this portion of the video because we are combining boho Tumblr with hipster Tumblr. Are they different things? Yes. However, I feel like they overlap enough to where I think it's valid to include them both together here. So you've probably seen the song that's viral on TikTok. I forget what it's called. It's like millennial, I don't know, but it's like the cringy millennial song where they post about like the burger places and stuff. Since that song came out, everybody's kind of reminiscing on that aesthetic and making like cringy videos about it, but I like unironically really love this aesthetic for summertime, so I wanted to talk about it. As you can tell, I dressed the part as well as I could. I didn't have that many options that kind of fit the prompt. Like I said, this aesthetic is very broad. I feel like the hipster aesthetic was very broad. I was watching the Strange Eons YouTube video about Tumblr. I love that video. She's awesome. And she said the same thing, that the hipster era of Tumblr was very broad and it kind of just referred to anybody that had an aesthetic blog. When I think of the boho or the hipster aesthetics, I think of Coachella, summertime. For fashion, there was a lot of beanies and hats like this, a lot of flowy cardigans, flowy tank tops. It was kind of neutral, dark colors, but it was definitely more colorful than Tumblr grunge. If there was a spectrum from Tumblr grunge to like Bethany Moda pink pastel, it's like in the middle. Bethany Moda was kind of boho sometimes. Nobody wants to acknowledge that. I don't know who I'm talking about. She gets grouped in with the like pink pastel girls, but she was kind of boho sometimes. Girls had that really long brown into blonde ombre hair. I remember Dodie Clark used to have that hair. I loved it. I still would like to have that hair to this day. People wore tights and like a lot of lace and ruffle things, a lot of silver layered jewelry. For some reason, people were obsessed with mustaches. When I think of mustaches, I either think of the hipster side of Tumblr or the scene era of Tumblr. That's why it's kind of hard to pinpoint specific trends with specific aesthetics and eras, because it's all under the umbrella of Tumblr and what was considered aesthetic on Tumblr. And a lot of the trends kind of carried over or combined or crossed years. Other things that were popular was just beaches. Everyone wanted to go to the beach. Coffee, dream catchers, which cultural appropriation maybe? Photography, fireworks. Is that a bird? I think there was literally just a bat on my window. A bat. I have unironically been listening to this era of music so much recently. I genuinely still love it. It's not only nostalgic, but it's just so summer. Some examples of artists that encapsulate this vibe are the Lumineers of Monsters and Men, Bastille, Echo Smith. I saw Echo Smith live in 2018, August 25th, 2018, because they opened for Pentatotics, American Authors, The Civil Wars, Bon Iver, Jake Bugg, Hollow Coves, Janet Devlin, although I think now Janet Devlin makes country music. She has a song called Emotional Rodeo. Love that song. I have been a Janet Devlin stan for like a decade now. One of the biggest things during this time were owls. Everyone was obsessed with owls. Oh my gosh, I forgot something. Hold on. My owl necklace. I have been trying to find an owl necklace in person since I first started looking the day I started learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons, November, and I've been looking in stores to find one, and I finally found one, but they all like broke. I had one with a feather on it from JCPenney. When I was trying to think of a book that kind of fits this vibe, I was thinking of like summer adventure books, like road trip type books. So like I'll give you two for example that I have read. Paper Towns by John Green. There's a road trip in this book. They're going on an adventure to find Margot. I went through the biggest Paper Towns phase. I love John Green. I love his books, but Paper Towns had an iron grip on me. I would watch that trailer waiting for the movie to come out every day like 5 times.
The way I figure it, everyone gets a miracle. My miracle was I wound up living across the street from Margot Roth, Spiegelman.
Morgan Matson's Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. If you have not read a Morgan Matson book in the summertime, you just need to. Her books are so fun. They're so summery. I haven't read her newer ones, but this one and Since You've Been Gone, I'm gonna read Second Chance Summer and The Unexpected Everything at some point this summer, I think. But she also puts playlists in the books. Like, I'll show you this. And whenever I read her books, I make a real Spotify playlist of all the songs. And one summer, I had 2 playlists of this book and Since You've Been Gone, and that was all I listened to all summer. So every time I hear that playlist or think of this book, it immediately takes me to summertime. It's so cool because they go on this road trip in the book, but it's inspired by a real road trip that Morgan Matson took. Real pictures from Morgan's road trip. I was at the library for over an hour trying to pick books for this video, and I couldn't think of one that fit this vibe. Like, I couldn't think of a good road trip book. People don't write road trip books anymore, from what I've read or seen. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna read any book that's kind of adventurous or beachy or naturey, anything like that. I found Family of Liars by E.L. Lockhart. E. Lockhart. Who was I thinking of? E.L. Who's that? E.L. James? I read We Were Liars years ago, and I hated it up until the ending, and if you know, you know. The ending's crazy, and I've loved this book afterwards. I never got around to reading, I think this is the prequel. I never got around to reading it. I'm gonna listen to Lana Del Rey while I read because I listened to Lana when I read We Were Liars years ago, so I figured it was only fitting to listen to it now. I'm sorry, but are you really gonna look at me right now and tell me that the dog's name was Reapy Cheap? Reapy Cheap? I'm wearing a coastal t-shirt. I feel like that's fitting for this book. I just finished reading Family of Liars. I read it in 2 sittings. I really enjoyed it a lot. I didn't know how I would feel because it's a prequel book and I usually don't like prequels, but this one was great. I would not recommend reading this before We Were Liars because it does spoil that book in my opinion. Nothing like insanely major, but I feel like you could piece everything together if you really paid attention to this one. So I do think you should read it second, or just read it as a standalone if you don't want to read We Were Liars. It was really short, really quick. If you are just getting into like thrillers, check this out because it's a mixture of like normal contemporary fiction. It deals with like loss and family, but it's also really thrilling. And of course, the ending is so good. I just think E. Lockhart's a really underrated author. I can't think of any other books that she has. Yes, she. Oh, she does. She invented a superhero for DC Comics? Oh, so she's a nerdy queen. We love her. So that's why I haven't seen any of her books recently, because she's busy being a superhero inventor. Anyway, I'd recommend it. I saw this book at Dollar Tree of all places.
This is the dollar store.
Not too long ago, so it should be pretty easy to get a copy of it. Like, I don't like that it says #1 on it, because I know it's a prequel, but it should be book 2. Read it if you want a good, short, quick thriller.
Incredible, amazing, show-stopping
book that gives you coastal summer adventure vibes. Not really adventure, but I'm just trying to fit it into the prompt. It actually did not feel like the prompt at all now that I read it, but it was still fun. We have arrived at the final portion of this video. This is the VSCO girl aesthetic. So VSCO was a thing from 2019 to 2020. 2019 was like true VSCO girl. 2020 was quarantine time, and that's when the preppy aesthetic was born. 2020 was also the shift from VSCO girl to indie, which indie is the one aesthetic I cannot get with. I mean, I had an era where I was indie for a very short time, but that did not last long. The VSCO aesthetic is kind of the one that I like connect with the most because I was in high school during this time. VSCO is a photo editing app, and from VSCO becoming popular, it spawned a whole aesthetic. So it's technically not Tumblr, but it's very aesthetic, and I just associate it with Tumblr. First of all, scrunchies. I have a ton of scrunchies from my VSCO era. For clothes, a lot of tie-dye, a lot of big t-shirts. Right now I'm wearing my vintage Billie Eilish merch. where are the avocados? Do people even know of that now? Like, when I think of Billie Eilish, I think, like, where are the avocados? That was her old username on Instagram. I got this at Kohl's in 2019. I was out shopping, I think for my birthday, with my best friend, and we went to Kohl's and I bought this. Tight, striped crop tops from Shein, which we don't support Shein on this channel. We don't support Shein, we don't support Temu. Okay? Okay. Dang, I forgot something else. Crap. Makeup was very minimal. This was like the birth of the clean girl makeup. We had the 2016 dark, cakey makeup as we saw in the Tumblr grunge portion of the video. But now we have clean makeup. The most important step of your makeup routine if you're going to be VSCO is chapstick. Specifically, Carmex chapstick and Burt's Bees chapstick. Oh my gosh, just this frame. This is so VSCO. I don't actually like Carmex, it makes me cough. I also have this Sol de Janeiro Bum Bum Cream. I don't know if this is VSCO. This is definitely more preppy. I'm gonna smell this. I have not smelled this. I have this cabinet in my bathroom of my, like, seasonal products. I have not smelled this since summer 2023, which was my favorite summer ever. Oh, wow. That's summer. An accessory that you needed to have as a VSCO girl, which technically isn't an accessory, but the VSCO girls made it one. It is water bottles. So, namely, hydro flasks. I have an orange hydro flask. I worked at an amusement park over the summer. I was a ride operator, and this was my park water bottle. And if that doesn't scream VSCO to you, I don't know what will. And then I also have this one. It's just a generic brand, but this is the tried and true VSCO girl water bottle. We've got the friendship bracelets. We've got the stickers. That's the tea, sis. We've got Crocs. Crocs were also a big thing. As you can... I have Crocs on. You can't see them. Crocs. Here you go. Here's also Birkenstocks, which I also have, but I didn't bring up because I'm lazy. And checkered Vans. These friendship bracelets were so popular. These are diabolically bad, horrendous bracelets. But I have a whole box of the string to make them. Since this took place during high school, everyone had backpacks, and the backpacks people had were these, like, Kanken, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the Kanken bags. For a bedroom in this era, my room pretty much looks like it. I will give you a room tour right now. My room's always changing, though, so this will probably change, like, tomorrow. Here is a room tour. Let's put the Crocs on. So first up, if you look up here, you see my nasty old LED lights, which have since broken. But I can't take them down because they peel all the paint off of the wall. You can actually see right here where I tried to take it off, it peels all the paint. Here's a balloon dog. That's probably not VSCO, but I wanted to show you anyway. So here's my bed. We have the grid bed sheets, they were still popular. And then we have a Squishmallow. This was the era of Squishmallows. I have my cow one, I love her, and we have my little coffee cup. I got this, I went Christmas shopping with my best friend and 2 other friends, and I got that. That was like a really fun day. So I still keep that on my bed. Here's my mirror. This is probably the most VSCO part of my room. I'm addicted to TikTok. True. Sips tea. And then these vines were an integral part to your bedroom during this time. Here's my other Heartstopper books. Some artists that fit into this aesthetic are Harry Styles, Cage the Elephant, Tom Petty, Khalid, Post Malone, Tame Impala, Wallows, Dayglow, Billie Eilish, Frank Ocean, and my favorite, Ricky Montgomery. Love Ricky Montgomery. I said clean girl makeup was the most popular makeup of this time. However, colorful makeup was also a thing. Why? Because the YouTube makeup community was thriving. Oh my gosh. 2019 makeup YouTube will forever be one of my favorite eras of pop culture and media culture of all time. No, we don't support Shane Dawson anymore. And we don't talk about Shane Dawson anymore. Or Jeffree Star, or James Charles, or any other problematic YouTuber. But 2019 was the era of Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star making their makeup collection, the Conspiracy Makeup Collection. But Shane Dawson was putting out this 500 million part Jeffree Star series of him and Jeffree making this makeup. And during the same time that this series was coming out, there was Dramageddon, which was drama. It started between James Charles and Toddy Westbrook with the Bye Sister Toddy Westbrook video. She put that out and the whole makeup community on YouTube completely crumbled. I still remember where I was. I was in the car going to Pittsburgh and James put out that video and I watched it on my phone and I was so invested. And then Toddy Westbrook did that live stream and Shane Dawson oh my gosh. Toddy posted, it was her response to James's response, I think. And then Shane Dawson did that live stream and he was like crashing out.
They crying! That is not real! Oh my god!
And then Jeffree Star came in and he was like, I have receipts. And then he was like, never mind, I'm not posting the receipts. All of this drama was happening and then this was during Shane was doing his series. So he was integrating that drama into his series. So then Shane got involved and he had beef with James. And it was just this whole thing and it just completely destroyed the makeup community on YouTube and it has never been the same since, for real. Speaking of YouTube, Emma Chamberlain was really popular at this time. I forgot to note, Emma Chamberlain was friends with the Dolan twins, Ethan and Grayson Dolan, and she was also friends with James Charles, who was in Dramageddon, and they had a squad called Sister Squad. I forgot about that. Emma Chamberlain was kind of the trailblazer for all of the popular girls' fashion during the early 2020s. When I was trying to think of a book to read for the VSCO girl time, I couldn't really think of anything because if you think about it, VSCO girls didn't really read much because they were too busy being outside. I think of VSCO girl as kind of the coastal version of a granola girl. Being outside in the summertime, being in nature, mostly the coastal beach part of nature. Going to amusement parks, going to arcades, going to the beach, getting frozen yogurt and ice cream. That's just what being a VSCO girl is all about. You don't even have to do anything big. Even just people would go and get Ben and Jerry's ice cream and like sit on their floor and have like a picnic or take a blanket outside and watch Netflix. People would watch Stranger Things and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Oh my gosh, I love those movies and those books. Even video games like Fortnite and Roblox, they're more, oh my gosh, Among Us. Yeah, not a lot of reading was going on. So I was like, okay, I need a book that's really easy, something that's like bright and wholesome and fun. Partly this was kind of just an excuse for me to finally buy it and read it because I've been wanting to for like forever. I got Heartstopper number 5. Heartstopper is a graphic novel. I've read the other 4. I haven't watched the show. I think I watched the first 2 episodes and I never continued watching. But I do love the books. This is gonna be our VSCO girl book. So I went to Dollar Tree and I got fake Crocs. I love my white Crocs, but I wanted these ones to put charms on because I don't like putting charms on my white ones. I have a whole bag of charms here and I'm gonna pick out some to put on my Crocs. And then afterwards I'm gonna work on reading Heartstopper and I'm gonna use my Heartstopper bookmark that my niece made me. And I'm just sorting through all of my charms. First one, Minecraft. Here is the finished product, Croc Tour. Now time to read Heartstopper. When I first read Heartstopper, it was because it was like a spin-off of Radio Silence because Aled is in it. I love Aled. I finished reading Heartstopper. I read the entire book while I was outside in like 15 minutes. It was really good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Not my favorite one. I still think the 4th one is my favorite. But it was really cute to be back in that universe and see all the characters again. Now I'm gonna go eat my Ben & Jerry's.